And this, my friends, is why we love football. Liverpool 2, Newcastle 1. And what an incredible game that was. And what a vital 3 points that was for Liverpool. At halftime, it felt like this was going to be another one of those days for Liverpool, as has been already this season. 1-0 down, struggling to break a stubborn Newcastle team down that, by the way, was playing extremely well, particularly first half. I was really impressed with Newcastle. They looked like a top six side. And it's not surprising that since Christmas last year, I think they have one of the second or third best record in the league. Maybe it's slightly worse than that, but regardless, the point is they are massively improved. And they looked very organised. They were dangerous in the counter. They were pressing well. They didn't actually just sit back. They tried to press Liverpool high. And it made it that much more difficult for us to get out first half. But after half time, it seemed like it might be another one of those days. Frustration. We only had, I think, 5 shots at half time, which for Liverpool, playing at Anfield, playing into the Cop End, it's an extremely low shot count. And you'd be forgiven for thinking that Liverpool were not capable of grabbing those 3 points in this game at halftime. Second half comes around though, and the team comes out, you can tell, comes out with renewed energy, with that extra bit of aggressiveness, more directness. Basically, they leveled up across the board. And the second half performance was a really good one. The problem is the fact that we keep going behind. I think prior to the Bournemouth game, we'd gone behind in the last 7 games in a row, something crazy like that. We cannot keep giving ourselves this mountain to climb by conceding first. Why is it that it often seems to take going behind to almost just give the players that shock to the system to play near enough to 100%? We can't keep trying to coast early and then recover when we go behind, because the reality is we keep dropping points with this recently. But what a comeback. This is what football is for. Games like this. Games like this are why I watch football, why I love football, why I will go through. I mean, the last few years have been amazing with Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool. But there were so many years of mediocrity and pain before that. And it's games like this that make it worthwhile. These are the payoff moments. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. 1-0 down at halftime. Firmino having a pretty average at best game. Played amazing against Bournemouth last week. 2 goals. Did he have 3 assists as well? Something crazy. Just before his goal, he played a pass. He's completely unmarked. He's in space. He's playing a pass to 2 players on the right-hand side. They were unmarked, in space. He played it in between the 2 of them, and the ball nearly went out of play. I was going nuts. Frustrated at what he had just done. 2 minutes later, he pops up with the first goal. Excellent finish as well. A little bit lucky that went through the defender's legs into the far corner. But great finish. Salah with his first assist of the season as well. And, I mean, overall, we finished the game with 24 shots. So 5 of those were in the first half, which means we had 19 shots second half. The XG was about 1.76. So, I mean, it's a decent enough XG. But part of the problem, again, is we seem to have these high shot counts pretty consistently above 20. But a very low number of shots on target. Only 6 today out of 24. And you could argue that the quality of the chances we're creating are not particularly clear-cut. That was maybe the frustration in the second half. For all the possession and there's nice bits of play, sometimes it just takes 1 or 2 extra passes in the wide spaces to turn an opportunity of an open cross, for example, into a clear-cut chance, an opportunity that we could really have a higher success rate of scoring from. But we were pushing in the second half. We kept going. We were winning the ball back earlier. Newcastle, pretty sure they didn't have a shot in the second half. Their XG was about 0.6, 0.7. So Liverpool 1.7, Newcastle 0.6, 0.7. You could say we certainly deserve the 3 points from the expected goals perspective. But I was starting to feel like maybe it was just going to be one of those days. We needed a moment of quality. Just someone to have a clinical finish, and it wasn't really happening. Until Carvalho pops up in the 98th minute. By the way, there were only 5 minutes of extra time awarded by the referee. And this is what made the victory it made it all the more sweet for me. I was yelling at the TV with the amount of time wasting Newcastle were doing. It was like Mourinho. It was like Lampard with Everton last season. Pickford. Remember Pickford last season? Every time he caught the ball, he'd dive in the ground. And Pope was doing that again today. It is... no other sports is there so much foul play, is there so much unsportsmanlike behaviour. It can be so incredibly frustrating. Joe Linton, every time the ball seemed to go out of play, there'd be 1 or 2 Newcastle players on the ground, feigning cramp, feigning injury. It was just, incredibly frustrating. But justice prevails. Because instead of those extra 5 minutes extra time that the referee had awarded, he played till 7.5, which allowed Liverpool the extra couple of minutes upon which they scored the goal. So they kind of got their comeuppance, Newcastle, I have to say, in a way. A corner had come in, there was a second ball. It looked like Salah had a free header for a minute, didn't quite get it. And Carvalho just swings out the right foot on the volley, smacks the ball crossbarring in from 3 or 4 yards out. It was a really nice improvised finish. And it was the kind of finish of somebody who switched on with good agility, quick feet, and what a sight seeing him charge down into the fans to celebrate. That's 2 goals in 2 games for Carvalho, coming off the bench in both. So that was how Liverpool got the victory. So delighted with the 3 points. In terms of performance, Alisson didn't really have much to do. By the way, Newcastle also had a disallowed goal from Isaac in the second half as well, which was just marginally offside. So a little bit of fortune there. Gomez, by and large, played well. One of the things I like most about him is his passing is really good for a centre half. Whenever he's playing it out to Trent, or he plays some nice cross-field balls as well, but he really punches the ball out. He plays it out with pace. Some nice penetrating passes into the centre of the park as well. Van Dijk was decent, although by his standards, maybe still a little bit below. Some cross-field balls were going astray, which is kind of unlike him generally, although he's been doing a bit more of that this season. Trent actually came off. He did give the ball away quite a bit, which he normally does because he plays a more expansive type of football and the emphasis is on him to create and to take more high-risk passes. But he came off for Milner after about 70 minutes to allow Carvalho to go on. So you had Fabinho, Carvalho and Elliott as the 3 midfielders. Fabinho had a good game. Henderson was decent. He was industrious, didn't offer too much going forward. It was almost looking more like a double pivot with Henderson and Fabinho, with Elliott was on the right-hand side, but he was drifting inside quite a lot. He certainly felt like the more advanced of the 3 midfielders. And it makes sense, because it's almost like you need the 2 pivots when you have Elliott, who's not going to provide the same off-the-ball work as some of our previous more industrious midfielders, like a Wijnaldum or a James Milner, for example. Salah worked hard, got the assist. Things weren't really working for him, just not quite clicking. And I think that's something that's happened a few times this season. He had some opportunities where his first touch just let him down. If he had controlled the ball a little bit better, he would have had some clear-cut chances, but wasn't quite able to do it. One frustrating thing, though, is Dan Burn. Every time the ball comes into Salah, Salah's back is to goal. Burns all over him. He's 6'7". He's holding him. He's grabbing him. And the referee only gave 1 free kick for Salah. I wish they'd stamp this out. Why is it that defenders can just bear hug 4 players? It's just very annoying. Firmino, as I said, great goal. Showed some nice touches, showed some loose passing as well, though. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to Núñez being back. He'll be back for the Merseyside derby this weekend, and we need him, to be honest. Apparently, Jota's back in training, so finally we're going to have some actual options in those front three again, which will be key. Diaz overall had a good game. He had some shots on target. He was direct. Took on Trippier a decent few times, although didn't necessarily get the better of him that much. When Carvalho got on, he showed some nice touches. A few times the ball was bouncing up in the air. He was the one getting his foot on it, calming things down and playing the ball on the ground. My man of the match, though, was Harvey Elliott. And this guy, I mean, he's 19 years old. He's going strength to strength. Particularly second half. First half, he was good when he was on the ball, but he was finding it hard to get involved. But second half, he was getting between the lines a lot more, and not necessarily on the right-hand side, actually more centrally. And quite a few times the ball was being played into him. He'd spin really nicely and play nice passes forward. He was progressing the ball through the midfield to the forward players really, really well. And this is extremely encouraging. To be honest, I mean, it's not just because he's left-footed, but the player that he was reminding me of was David Silva. That link between defence, midfield and forwards, and just really efficient use of the ball. Joe Linton was a beast in that midfield. He's strong, he's fast, he's athletic, but he couldn't get near Elliott. Elliott was just too smart for him. The way he was turning, feinting, using his body, he kept spinning away from Joe Linton. And I think maybe we might see Elliott move more centrally going forward as well. I mean, he does have an incredible triangle generally with Trent and Salah on that right-hand side. I feel like, in particular, Salah and Elliott seem to really be on the same wavelength, and they play off each other well. But if we can pass the ball into feet in the centre of the park, and the way he spins on it and can release players, he can have runners off him. I mean, he could be such an important weapon for just progressing the ball forward. But it's the maturity of his play that is, you don't really see that in a 19-year-old. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how Elliott develops further this season. Overall, though, what a critical 3 points. It's so early in the season, just 5 games in. But if we drop points again, I mean, it really would have felt like that's it in terms of the title. I mean, we're already, I know it's such early days, but to have gone 7 points then behind City so early would have really been tough to come back on. Now it's 2 wins on the bounce. We have to keep it up by winning the Merseyside derby this weekend, even though there is a bit of a mountain to climb already. We take it game by game, get players back from injury, and just start building win upon win upon win, and showing the kind of consistency that this team are made of. And by the way, starting games better, not conceding the first goal every single damn game. There is the part of me that still thinks maybe we won't win the league, but we can at least push Man City all the way. Because certainly with Haaland scoring seemingly every single game, it's going to be a really tough one this year. But overall, feeling great. Incredibly satisfying win for Liverpool. Let's keep it up with the Merseyside derby this weekend. Talk to you then.